that was a very interesting video. The video introducing me. I was watching the video and I was really enjoying it. Thank you guys for organizing this, DCC especially. And I mean, you guys have been here for like 4 days, so you must have been having a time of your life, soaking up all this knowledge that I hope you're putting to use as you are learning, right? Because it's of no relevance at the end of the day if you're just taking up theoretical knowledge and there's no practical application, right? So GCC gave me a topic. She said I'm going to be speaking on speaking with clarity, confidence, and conviction, right? And of course, this is the Grow conference. So my assumption is that most people here, are either business owners or you have some enterprise going on with you, that you want to or you desire to see grow, right? So my focus with this particular class for like the next 35-40 minutes would be to show you the role that public speaking plays and how you can use public speaking as a tool, for growth in your business or in your enterprise, right? So while DCC and I were talking yesterday, I told her that I was going to share very few slides, and she was like, you're going to do a lot of talking, and case studies and all of that. Well, that's not a bad reputation. I think I have a lot to prove this evening. I have to prove that I can actually stick to time and not do tons of case studies before getting to the point. So let's start with the first slide. The introduction. So as always, if you've ever been in any meeting that I've organized, you'd understand how much value I place on thinking from first principles. Now the reason is because I don't want to get to like the 6th slide and then it's like you're lost and you don't know where we started from, and then you have basic questions that would hinder the bulk of what we are talking about, right? So thinking from first principles helps us together to build from ground up, right? And when you hear public speaking, I can imagine what comes to your mind. You're probably imagining something like the image of the dude right on the screen, someone standing, suit and tie, delivering a speech, right? So I want to ask a question that I hope people can put their answers in the chat box, right? What do you think public speaking is? If you were to define public speaking, what would you define public speaking as? Let me give you a hint. Just keep it simple and short. What is public speaking? So if DCC, if you can help me, tell me what they are saying in the comment section, I would appreciate that. What do you think public speaking is? When you hear public speaking, what comes to your mind? What do you think public speaking is? Can anyone help me read what's going on in the comments? I can't exactly see it. Speaking to multitudes. Okay, I can see the comments now. Okay. It means carrying your audience along, get connected with them confidently. Okay, interesting. This is a very long answer.
Someone said talking to people in public.
Yeah.
Another person says speaking to multitudes.
Okay, so I think I've found, out of the 3 answers that I can see there, I think I have one that I'm drawn to, right? It's the kind of answer that we get when we think in first principles, talking to people in public, right? But I would rather you use the words in the phrase public speaking. It's just speaking in public, right? So when I ask for a definition, for example, I want you to use the most basic, most childish, most fundamental definition that comes to your mind. Because when you start from that, then you can break it into pieces and there'll be no room for confusion. So speaking in public is public speaking, right? Now, whether you're talking to 500 people, you're talking to 1 person or 2 people, right? You are involved in public speaking. Anything that has to do with you speaking outside of yourself, that's public speaking, right? So this applies to you whether you have a speech to deliver or you're just recording a video on your phone to post on Instagram, or you're having a one-on-one conversation where you're sending a voice note to a potential customer or investor. You're involved in public speaking. So all the examples that we're going to be giving here, all the techniques that we're going to be mentioning, they're applicable to all these situations, not just when you're standing in front of 600 people giving a speech, or when you're doing something that I'm doing now, for example. That's not the summary of public speaking. Public speaking is you speaking outside of yourself. Okay, now that we have mentioned that, the next thing I said here is, what is the root of public speaking? Now, public speaking is a form of communication, right? And communication can be divided into two major forms. So there is verbal communication and there's non-verbal communication, right? And verbal communication is where public speaking falls under. So public speaking is not a stand-alone concept. It's a part of communication as a broad concept. Okay, so there's no way we can totally understand the principles of public speaking if we don't understand the fundamentals of communication broadly, right? Which leads us to the next slide, which is the 4 fundamental pillars of communication. If you miss anything in this class, do not miss this particular slide because it's the foundation of everything, right? So it applies to all forms of communication, which public speaking is a part of, verbal communication, right? So the first one is clarity, right? So clarity is the first and most important, actually, fundamental pillar of communication, right? It's what communication is built on, clarity. So clarity comes in 3 forms, right? And clarity of self, clarity of message, and then clarity of your audience. I'm going to take it again. Clarity of self, clarity of message, and clarity of audience. Now, when we say clarity of self, you need to first understand your unique speaking style, or what we call your public speaking archetype. And as long as research has it so far, there are 2 major types of public speaking archetypes, just 2. The main ones, right? There are several, but then the main ones that show up at least 80% of the time, there are 2. So there's the rebel and there's the ruler, right? And I'm going to do some explanation here. So the rebel and the ruler, right? So let me start with the rebel. So the rebel is someone who, or no, rather, let me start with the ruler. I think that's a better way to flow with the topic. The ruler is someone who has nothing to prove when he's coming to talk to you, right? I don't know if you've ever attended a conference where, not necessarily this kind of conference, like grow conference, but a typical conference, maybe when you were in university, and there's like 10 people coming to speak to you guys, and out of the 10 people, you don't know 9 of them. Like nobody knows 9 of them. They're just new people, new faces that are hustling, to sell their market and, to put their brand out there. But then there's one person that they save to speak last. And that person is the most popular, amongst all of them. Everyone knows them. They are very popular in their field, right? Now, when that person is coming to talk to you, he's coming in the archetype of the ruler. Why? Because he doesn't have anything to prove, seemingly. So he can decide to show up and not even come with slides. Someone did that when I was in brand communication school, right? In brand communication school in Orange Academy, many of these lecturers will come and be talking to us, sweating, giving us slides, putting in their heart into their work, as they should, right? But then we had a guest lecturer who happens to be one of the most popular entertainers and music personalities in Africa, Don Jazzy. He came with his manager, who owns the biggest talent management company in Africa, Temple Management Company. And the both of them came, they didn't come with any slides, right? They just came and sat down on the table and said, look, I'm not as intelligent as you guys, but I'm going to tell you guys my story. And they started talking, and there was rapt attention. They didn't need to do anything. They didn't need to use any unique technique to get our attention. Why? Because their reputation already captures our attention. We believe that they are substantial. Therefore, we give them our attention. That's the ruler archetype. But the rebel has everything to prove. Nobody knows him. Nobody knows him. You're entering a room where people are questioning your credibility. So you have a lot to prove. So that's why you bring in all the techniques, all the shenanigans that you can, because you're trying to leave a lasting impression. So which archetype are you whenever you're going to deliver a speech to a particular room? In your office, you might be the ruler archetype, but when you're coming for a grow conference, you're probably a rebel trying to prove a point. Okay, so that's for clarity of self. Know where you are and pitch accordingly. Now, clarity of message means you must understand the topic that you're speaking on, right? I think this is just basic. Understanding the topic you're speaking on is a non-negotiable, right? You're going to confuse people if you yourself are confused. No matter what the topic is, do your background check, do your homework thoroughly. I remember back in school, there was a particular aspect of law that I did not like. And it's not a mystery why I did not like it. I didn't like tax law. Now, the reason why I didn't like tax law is because it had to do with numbers. And I don't like numbers. I don't like maths. Right. And they were organizing this debate competition in tax law, and it was the biggest debate competition in the school at the time. And I wanted to participate in the debate because I love public speaking, right? And I believe that if I put in the work, I would excel in it. With zero knowledge of tax, right? And I was competing against tax consultants. People that were not students were participating in that competition. Tax consultants, members of the tax club, people that were really knowledgeable in this subject matter. Those were like the 20 people or the 20 something people I was competing with. But then I did my homework. I called someone that was very knowledgeable in the subject matter to sit me down and teach me for like 3 hours. And after teaching me, I watched all the YouTube videos on that particular topic. And when I participated in that competition, for the first round I was competing in, I came first out of people that have been studying this thing for years. Why? Because I was clear on the message. I knew exactly the topic that I was given, and I had to do my homework thoroughly. So research and public speaking are married, right? If you're knowledgeable, you'd have more confidence to speak. Then the third is clarity of audience. You need to know exactly who you're sent to. Who exactly are you talking to, right? This would help you flesh out what your message is going to be and how you deliver the message. Okay, now we are done with clarity. The second fundamental pillar here is emotions, right? An emotionless speech is a lifeless speech. I don't like sounding this way, rhyming all these things, emotionless, lifeless, but this is what it is. I have to do it. An emotionless speech is actually a lifeless speech. If you don't invoke emotions in your speech, because human beings are emotional people, we need that connection. That's how we make sense out of this world, through stories, right? And stories, we know, is the primary tool to evoke emotions in people. So if your speech doesn't have emotions, you have not communicated. Many people, in many public speaking circles, right, they say that when your audience starts to believe that you are a direct victim of the sensitive topic that you are talking about, you have reached the peak of public speaking. I'm going to explain what that means. Now, you need to be so emotionally invested in the topic that people will start wondering, is this guy talking from experience? Is this a true life story? Let's take a sensitive topic like rape, right? Let's take a sensitive topic like rape, and you're invited, to to speak at a conference. Let's say Women Empowerment Gender Feminist Coalition conference, and the topic has something to do with trying to curb rape. Okay, now they introduce me, Victor Okafor, to come and speak, and I'm like, oh no, not me. Let's say a woman, right? Let's say they introduce Yai, and Yai comes and she's like, "Good afternoon, everyone. Today's topic is about rape. Rape is bad. Rape is bad. Men, stop raping women. And the few of you women that are disgracing our gender all over the world, stop raping men. Let's stop rape. Cheers." They'll be looking at you like, what is this person doing here? Like, there's no emotion involved, nothing. It's just a blank. It's just a blank speech. Like, everybody's looking at you like, who invited this person here in the first place? But then if we invite another speaker who changes the tone, right? Let's say we invite Lucky Eloho, and we say, "Welcome to the stage, Lucky Eloho," and she doesn't even start by introducing herself. She starts by telling us, imagine the look on the face of that 14-year-old girl, with blood flowing through her thighs and tears flowing down her eyes. She's on the corridor, sitting, wondering what had just happened to her. Her mates are in school, or she's at home, bawling her eyes out. I'm not here to bore you with statistics on rape, neither am I here to tell you things you've already heard, but I'm here to use my voice to speak up for that young girl in Kaduna, for that young girl in Kano, for that young girl in Abia State. Now, some of you are already feeling, you're already feeling so pumped up, right? Now, the difference is just that one person was emotional about her speech and the other person wasn't, right? So it's your emotions that bring your speech to life. Then the third fundamental pillar is relatability, okay? relatability. Remember, as we are saying all these things, remember we are tying it all together with the topic that we're given. Speaking with clarity, confidence, and conviction. It's all going to make sense. So relatability is your ability to relate. If you understood anything I was saying about first principles, don't overcomplicate things. Don't tell me relatability is the mechanism to it's just the ability to relate to people. Okay. So how is relatability a fundamental pillar of communication? It means that you must ensure that you're talking to the people that you're talking to in the language that they understand best. Now, this isn't just about your primary language of communication, like English or German or any other language. That's not the language I'm talking about. I'm talking about how they perceive things, the things they believe, right? The jokes that you tell. Okay, so basically you're talking to a set of people that are wired in a certain way, and your ability to relate to them in the way that they are wired would make you an excellent public speaker. Okay, so if you are talking to that's why you need to have clarity on your audience, right? If you're talking to people that are not exactly literate, there are certain things you should not say. There are certain jokes you should not tell. You know that there are jokes that are intellectual jokes. Like if you're not educated, you don't understand the joke. If somebody tells you something like, "Oh, do you know why atoms are the biggest liars?" It's because they make up everything. You're probably going to find it funny because you went to school. Now, someone who doesn't know what an atom means doesn't understand what the hell you're saying, right? So they're just going to be looking at you and be wondering, what's this person saying? Which brings me to a very interesting case study. I couldn't resist it, right? His name is Honorable Patrick Obahiabon. I don't know how to pronounce it. I hope I'm not murdering the surname, but that dude is probably one of the worst communicators I've seen in my life. So, so I remember back in the days when he used to come to Unilag, and the auditorium would be packed out. Not because in Unilag usually, right? When an auditorium is being packed out, it's either because there's a lot of food, at the occasion, or a popular artist is coming like Olamide or YC, one of these celebrities, Sha. But this particular time, no popular artist was coming. They were not sharing food. They just said Honorable Patrick was coming. Now, the reason people went there was to laugh. People just wanted to use it as comic relief. Nobody understands Jack, this guy says, almost all the time, right? And it's sad because he's in a place of influence and power, right? And you don't understand anything he's saying because he's using terms that people that are listening to him do not relate to or understand, right? So relatability simply means you're talking to your audience in the language that they understand. And then the fourth fundamental pillar of communication is something we call the X factor, right? Now this is like my favorite. So your X factor is basically that unknown factor about you that is unique to you. When we meet you at first, we don't know it. It's not written on your forehead. But with time, we see it consistent in you as that thing that stands you out, right? So for someone like Chimamanda, it's her blend of being stern in her speech and also being subtle and soft. For Barack Obama, is his use of transcendence, how he paints a picture in the minds of his audience, right? So for me, for example, my introduction always starts with something very abstract, and then I tie it into the topic of the day. Okay, so how do you get to identify your X factor? By consistent practice. By consistent practice, by practicing topics that you actually enjoy talking about, because you find yourself doing things well, especially if you're trained in public speaking, right? You find yourself doing things that you notice across time that, oh, okay, this is actually what stands me out and this is what I'm most consistent at. Okay, so those are the four fundamental pillars of communication. Now we're going to look at how useful and practical this is, to our day-to-day business. So the business use case is very straightforward. You use public speaking in three major aspects of the business. One, appeal. So I'm starting from the ground up. One, appeal, to appeal to the people that you're trying to reach. Two, to persuade them, right? And three, to pitch yourself, to introduce yourself, right? When you're pitching yourself, because every opportunity you get to speak is an opportunity for you to sell yourself, an opportunity for you to pitch yourself. Okay, so I understand that I am majorly here for an informative speech, right? Which is to educate you on the subject matter of public speaking and how it can be relevant to your business. However, I'm not oblivious of the fact that as I am talking and I'm teaching this class, I am making a case for myself, my expertise, and my competence, right? I am showing who I am, and I am showing why I am who I say I am, right? By teaching you what I claim to know, right? So this is also an opportunity for me to pitch myself, which I've been doing for like the last 20 minutes or 15 minutes. Okay, so these are the 3 use cases in your business, and we are going to see tools that you can use for each of these use cases. So let's start from the first one, which is the pitching, right? So pitching is usually used for my focus for this class would be for introductions, right? When you're introducing yourself, please do not, yeah. When you're introducing yourself, that's what we are going to focus on, right? And there are 3 major techniques to introduce yourself, right? There are 3 major techniques to introduce yourself or to introduce your speech. The first is examples, the second is storytelling, the third is diving. I can't go in depth because I have limited time. Remember, I said I have a lot of people to disappoint on this call. I'm going to stick to time. In 30 minutes, inshallah, I'll be done. I'll be done. So the first is examples, right? So how do you use examples in your speech or when you're introducing your speech? Use examples when you are trying to make an indirect stance for yourself, right? So you're not directly saying what you want to say, you're saying it indirectly using examples. And I'll give you an example of using the technique of examples, right? So if someone asks you, for example, let's say you're in a business meeting. Let's just assume you're in a business meeting with a couple of investors, right? And it's one of those meetings where a lot is on the line, right? And you're making a case that, look, if you invest in my startup or if you invest in my business, right, I'll be able to make so and so returns. I think it's a quality investment because it's viable for the market that I'm operating in, right? The market is ready for launch, and all of these things. Now, if you don't want to just come out in the meeting and say, please, oh, come and come and invest in my business, come and buy what I am selling. If you don't want to do that, right, and you want to go in directly and make your stance, use examples. Now, how do you do that? Make a list of similar cases, right, where a business like yours launched in that market, right, and then investors had positive returns. So let's say, which sector can I use now? Which sector can I use now? Which sector can I use? So I'm going to use 2 sectors just to make this relatable. I'm going to use a tech startup, for example, and then I'll use a normal business. So if you're in tech, for example, right, and the sector you're operating in is the creator tech area, right? So your seller, your main stack, all these link in bio people. Now you are introducing a link in bio product, right? And you want people to invest in your stuff. You want your investors to invest in your product. Now, have you done your research to find out what the returns were for seller, main stack, and any other one that is in the market? If you've done your research and they had positive returns across a period of time, right, and they're asking you, why do you think your business is viable for the market and why do you think it's going to succeed, right? So instead of saying, oh, it's going to succeed, I am sure because I know what I'm doing, you can say, in 2020, when the creator economy was just coming up, when Nigeria had less than 100,000 people active, or pre-2020, when Nigeria had less than 100,000 people actively engaged in the creator economy on a day-to-day basis, Seller took the bold step to launch their product. And for the first 1 year, although they had 4,000 users, they were active. And then from 2020 up until 2023, now they have about 500,000 active users, right? Turning a profit of so and so. In 2022, taking a cue from the standard that Seller had set, Mainstack launched with additional features to benefit the creator economy, to receive payments and all of that. And then so and so happened for them. Now, we have also recognized certain holes in the products mentioned above, and we have created hardy pay to solve that problem, right? And this is the predicted returns. That's how you use examples, because you've made a case for yourself without directly saying what your stance is. Okay, now if you're in normal business like skincare and all that, right, you could use previous testimonials. So and so person came to me in 2020. In fact, let me show you her picture. Her face was like this, and now this is what she looks like. Wait, before we go on talking, let me show you one more person. So you're using examples to make a case for yourself, so that when you now strike, everybody sees the evidence that you are backing your assertion on. I hope it's clear enough. Okay, good. So the second introductory technique, I don't want to waste time on introductory techniques because we still have persuasive tools, right? The second introductory technique here is storytelling. So I think this is simple. Yai has talked about using storytelling for your business. I'm not going to waste any time whatsoever here. This is where you basically use stories, to introduce yourself, right? This is more of your emotional appeal, right? You are using true stories. Don't lie, please. I beg in the name of God. Don't lie because you want to close a deal or you want to win a pitch. You're using true stories to make a case for yourself, right? Now, the third type of introductory technique is something we call diving. Sorry, just a second, guys. So the third introductory technique, like I said, is something we call diving, right? Diving reminds me of DCC, right? It's a type of introductory technique that is unique to a certain type of people. Not everybody, I don't recommend this for everybody. It's usually recommended for people that are assertive in nature, right? So diving simply means you're going straight to the point. Oh, what have you done in business? You start listing it straight, right? Straight. You're just saying, oh, this is what I do. I offer public speaking services. I've been doing it for so and so years, right? And when you do this, this is the results that you get. So you're going direct to the point. You're not cutting any corners. You're not using any story to water the ground first. You're not giving examples. You're making direct statements. Oh, I heard that you help people with course launch. Of course I do. When I help you with your course launch, this is the expected result if you put in so amount of work, and you're done, right? So these are the three different introductory techniques to pitch yourself. Now let's go to persuasive tools. Let's go to the persuasive tools that you need for public speaking. Now, the reason we are looking at persuasive tools is because, remember, the topic says how to speak with clarity, confidence, and conviction, right? So you want to be able to attract people to what you are selling or what you are saying in your speech, right? And there are subtle techniques here and there that people can apply, that will just make a difference in the persuasive ability that they have when they are talking. And the first is something called tonal variation. The first is something called tonal variation, right? Tonal variation is very simple. So the rule is that, like an ECG reading, right? You know that thing where if you go to the hospital, you read your heart rate that goes up, down, like in a zigzag manner. Exactly how your speech is supposed to go. It's supposed to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It's never supposed to be flat, right? Because in real life, right, when it's flat for a long time, it simply means one thing. It means that your speech is dead, right? It means that the person is dead. So in public speaking as well, if your tone is flat for an elongated period of time, your speech is dead. It's as good as dead. So tonal variation implies that your tone will fluctuate depending on what pitch is high, sometimes your pitch is low. And I'm going to give you the different scenarios that necessitate the different pitch variations. So if you're talking about something sensitive, for example, if you're talking about if your speech is sensitive, right? Let's say you are at a burial ceremony, for example. If it's a sensitive speech, start with a low tone. and then go up later and bring it back. That's how it goes. Start low, go up later, and bring it back. But if it's not a sensitive speech, you can start high, go low, and end it high. Okay. A speech at a burial ceremony. That's serious. You don't go there and start shouting. Okay. Whereas a speech that is not exactly sensitive is something like a toast at your brother's wedding. You're not there to make everybody moody. So you can start on a high pitch. Sometimes you bring it low to show that you have some depth, and then you take it high again to end on a high note and ensure everybody's jivey. So that's what tonal variation implies, right? If you're monotonous, you bore people to death. And then where's the persuasive ability there? Because you're just going to have one tone throughout, right? And you will not be able to engage people's emotions. And when you don't engage people's emotions, what happens? No persuasion whatsoever. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is using direct opposites. Direct opposites is one of the persuasive tools in public speaking. What does direct opposites mean? It means that before you state what is, right, there's a statement you want to make, right? Before you make that statement, you first say what is not, right? You bring like the opposite of what you're trying to say. So one of the best users of this technique is, well, not just him. There's Barack Obama, and I've seen many United States. We are the United States of America. That's his entire point. However, he wouldn't just say we are the United States of America. He would say we are not the Democratic America or the Republican America, right? We are the Federal Republic. We are the United States of America. Just like if you want to say, oh, we are the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we need to live in unity, and we need to live in unity, you would say something like, we are not the Igbo Republic of Nigeria or the Yoruba Republic of Nigeria. We are not the Hausa Republic of Nigeria. We are the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So when you're making a case for your business, for example, state what it is not first, right? On the 4th of June, we are going to commence the GROW conference. Now, I know you've attended a lot of conferences, but the GROW conference is not just another conference where we are going to gather a bunch of motivational speakers to pump you up and leave you with no substance. One, the growth conference is not just another conference where you're going to be filled with theoretical knowledge and no practical application. Two, the GROW conference is not, then you can now finally say the GROW conference is a one of its kind coming together of digital creators, business owners, and enterprise owners who want to scale their businesses in the online space, right? So you first say what it is not before you say what it is, so that when you eventually say what it is, first of all, people are clearer on what it is that you're going to be offering. It has more hype and it has more ginger and it connects with the emotions better, right? So that's direct opposites. That's the second persuasive tool that you can use to bring your speeches to life. Then the third is something we call direct language importation. Direct language importation. Direct language importation. Now, what does direct language importation mean? It simply means that when you are giving a speech or when you are saying something in a particular language and you import another language to either make a point or to complete the speech, you have engaged direct language importation. And what this does is that it gives an implied meaning that what you have to say is of such vital importance that it cannot not be said in the particular language that you are saying it in. Have you ever had a conversation with someone, so personally, I'm Igbo, and the people that I've seen do this a lot are Yoruba people, right? There's this girl in school, Miriam. She couldn't complete a sentence without bringing some Yoruba inside it, right? So they would just be speaking English, and then the next thing you'd hear is, there's something my people say. There's something my people say, right? And then they will now speak Yoruba. But after speaking the Yoruba or saying what they want to say in Yoruba, they'll now come and interpret it. Why couldn't they just say the interpretation? Why do they have to say it in their language first before interpreting it? You could have just said the interpretation. Do you know why they wouldn't just say the interpretation? Because they know that it holds more power in the original language when you say it, right? So when you say it in that original language and you now interpret it, people now go, So if I come here, for example, I mean, I could easily say, it's good that we work together. When we work together, we are more productive. That's good advice, right? That's solid advice. However, right? How it later. Okay. If I say that same thing I just said, which is we need to work together, bring our resources together, and we'll be more productive. If I say it in Igbo first, before interpreting it, it's going to hold more water. So I would say something like, there's something my people say in my language. Anyokatama meriono, yobo fufu. Which means when we bring our resources together, we achieve much more and we are more productive. Now, that's different. So you said the same thing, really, but then both of them hold different persuasive power in importation. Now, the final persuasive tool, here is something called the golden rule of three. The golden rule of three simply implies one thing. It means when when you are making a statement that will require you listing points. When you're making a statement that will require you listing points, what you do is that you limit it to 3, right? Now, the reason is because psychologically, now this is based on research. I can't remember the particular institution, but based on research, when you limit your points to 3, it projects you much more as an expert. I think this is somehow tied to the Feynman technique, whereby there's a series of words that you have never heard in your life before, right? And I'm feeling big. You say this guy doesn't know what he's doing. This guy doesn't know what he's saying. This guy is scamming people because he just knows how to talk, right? Because you're going to be wondering what on earth is this dude saying? But if I can explain it to you the way I'm explaining it to you, if I can explain it to a 5-year-old, then it's a pointer that I know exactly what I'm talking about, right? So this golden rule of 3 falls under that line of thought whereby you keep it simple. Whenever you're listing things, you keep it to 3, right? If you're making points, you keep it to 3. The traditional structure of a speech is introduction, position there, but traditionally it's introduction, body, conclusion, right? So you build your introduction with one of the techniques, right? And you're building the body of your speech. Firstly, secondly, right? Thirdly, and then you kill it off there finally, and you're done, right? Don't now say firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly, fifthly, sixthly, seventhly, right? Just limit it to 3. Limit it to 3, right? There's a persuasive power that comes when you limit your points to 3. Okay, so now we are done with persuasive tools, right? I'm just going to use the next 1 to 2 minutes, or sorry, let's say 2 minutes, to talk about creative tools as a bonus, just because I'm happy with you people, and I think I've kept the time because I'm done. I'm done, right? If you want to see the practical application of these things, we have templates and workbooks, right? AI has affected my life positively. So previously, I'll just do this kind of class, and I would give an assignment, right? And I would have to do breakdowns. Oh, this is how the assignment is supposed to go. But now we've prepared templates for you. We have templates for every single persuasive technique, creative techniques, everything that has to do with public speaking. We prepare templates, and it's inside the BTC Hub, it's inside the BTC Hub. So if you subscribe as a member, you can easily get all these materials. But let me wrap up with creative tools. It's not in the slides, right? So I just want you to pay attention here. You're not going to see anything on the slides because I think I omitted that. Well, intentionally so. But because I'm in a good mood, let me go to creative techniques or tools that you're going to need for your speech. Now, creative tools, unlike persuasive tools, well, not unlike, because all of them have the same mission, right? You want people to act on your speech. You want people to take action when you say something to them. You don't just want them to be docile. So, but persuasive tools focus on you convincing people and getting your point across, while creative tools focus on you simplifying whatever it is that you're saying so much that they understand exactly what your point is, which is something that people find really hard. Right? One of the issues people have in public speaking is that they're all over the place, and as a result, bro, the person that you're talking to is is not reading your mind. Right? I'm not reading your mind, you're not reading mine. It's how articulate that we are that would determine whether people understand us thoroughly. And creative tools help you simplify your thoughts. Okay, so there are three that I'm going to point out. The first is something called analogies. Okay, so an analogy is basically how you use an example or a case to explain a statement you have already made. If you make a statement and you believe that that statement needs further explanation for people to understand it, or for people to understand it the way you want them to understand it, use an analogy to bring it to life. Let me give you an example. Okay, so my point is that, look, Nigeria's problem is not terrorism. Nigeria's problem is not nepotism. Nigeria's problem is not Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Neither is Nigeria's problem APC. Nigeria's problem is the lack of a national ideology that has been born out of the lack of unity in diversity amongst its citizens. Basically, the point is we don't have any central ideology that all tribes and people can buy into. That's the most fundamental problem that we have. That's my point, right? That's the point I'm trying to make. Okay. Now, for me to explain it in a way that my audience would understand, because I won't just leave them with that kind of long explanation, right? Because my entire point is that, look, we can't be saying terrorism is the major problem, even though it's a problem. Nepotism is a problem. Do I believe APC is a problem? Yes, I believe APC is a problem, not the major problem. However, I think the major problem is the lack of an ideology that ties all of us together as a nation, right? So the analogy I will use to bring that to life would be saying something like, if I say, or people that are saying that terrorism is the major problem of Nigeria, or that APC is the major problem of Nigeria, right, are like those people who see a tap running and then they are mopping the floor instead of turning off the tap. That's an analogy. Do you know what that analogy implies? It means that if you see a tap running, for goodness sake, the smartest thing to do is not to carry a mop and start mopping the floor that the water is hitting on, right? You turn off the tap, you attack the root of the problem, right? And you don't face the after effects. So I'm using the analogy to explain that, look, if you're facing terrorism, nepotism, APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you're looking at the after effects. Let's go to the root. But many people don't understand it. So I'll use an analogy to bring that to life. So how do you use analogy in your business? Think of an offer that you have that you've always found hard to explain. What offer do you have that you find it hard to explain? Oh, I offer bookkeeping services, or I offer financial advisory services where we help our clients go from 0 to 1. Bro, come on, man. What exactly are you saying, right? Because if you say, I mean, that's a good statement where you say, you know, you help offer financial advisory services, you take your clients from 0 to 1. All these things are high level terms. How are they going to understand it? Maybe you should use an analogy, right? So maybe you can say something like, what this means is that I work with my client as though I am holding their hands, and we go from the stage of business they are in, you know, to the stage of business that they desire by implementing stable financial principles like that. Okay, now you simplified it, and in a couple of seconds, the person you're pitching to understands you better. Because now it's not just clouding all over their head. You use an analogy to bring it down to life, right? That's the first. Let me just use one more example to ensure that people understand this clearly, right? If someone tells me something like black people cannot be racist, I mean, this is an actual thing. All you need to do to see comments like this is go to the shade room. or spiritual world. All these Instagram pages, bro. You see people's thought processes, and you're like, how? Anyway, point is, if someone says something like black people cannot be racist, and you want to show them how stupid that thought process is, you can use an analogy to do that. You could say something like, saying that black people are not racist is just like saying that females or girls, cannot be sexist. I mean, it's the same premise. Okay, they're the ones that have been affected by racism the most. It doesn't mean that they can be racist. The same way females are the ones that have been affected by sexism the most, doesn't mean that they cannot be sexist. But then if you're there making your point, how can you say that black people cannot be racist? Yeah, they'll be making their point too. And I mean, you cannot win an argument with a stupid person, right? So use an analogy to just water everything down and show them how crazy their thought process is. Now, the second creative technique that you can apply is something called transcendence. So transcendence is how you explain tough statements, or statements. It's just like analogies, but then it's more in depth. So the difference is that in transcendence, you're using extremely detailed storytelling to bring what you're saying to life. You're using extremely detailed storytelling to bring what you're saying to life. Now, how do you do this? Okay, let's assume, let me use a personal example and then we'll close. So I don't know how many of you here know about presumptive tax. I mean, perfect. I'm sure not a lot of people would have heard of presumptive tax. Now, the reason is because even I, at the time that was studying law, did not know presumptive tax, a few years ago, right? And if I say, oh, we want to start dishing out presumptive tax to the informal sector, people will be confused. But I can use transcendence to break it down more. Now, remember, we use creative techniques to simplify things that seem complex, right? So how will I break this down, or how did I break this down when I was giving a speech on the informal sector to laymen? Sorry that I'm using all these law terms, like calling people laymen, but to ordinary human beings that, don't know about stuff like this, right? How did I explain it to them? So I defined the informal sector. I said the informal sector is basically made up of enterprises and businesses that are not regulated by the government or other official regulatory bodies. Still complex, 100%, still complex. People are wondering, oh, not regulated by other official bodies. But then I now use transcendence to bring it home. I said the informal sector is made up of that young man selling gala on the road when you're on your way to work. The informal sector is made up of those two guys called Chibike and Chibuzo, tugging at your shirt at Yaba markets whenever you're going to buy stuff. The informal sector is made up of that young girl selling recharge card just down the street. The informal sector is made up of that Madam Basirat somewhere in Balogun market selling her bend down select wares. These are the people that are not regulated by the government. Those are the informal sector that we want presumptive tax to be dished upon. Now, it's clearer. Nobody is going to have any form of, confusion whatsoever to who the informal sector is, because they are now, I used storytelling, right? I didn't just say they are roadside hawkers. I mean, why didn't I just say that? Why did I say that young man selling gala? Because it's a story that you can relate to. It's something that you see on a daily basis, right? So, for example, when Yai or Yai or Victor is pitching their business, to business owners, we are not just going to say, oh, we've helped 250 businesses across 8 countries introducing the storytelling framework. Nah, we're going to say, whether you are talking about the young business owner or solopreneur who is working hard in her 20s, to build her business from a 6-figure business to an 8-figure business, or whether you're talking about an already established conglomerate, and then we go into all these details, right, to tell you that, okay, these are the people we've worked with and this is what we've achieved for them. Why? We're using storytelling to bring you closer, to understanding what that seemingly complex subject matter is. So these are creative tools that you can use for all your speeches and all your communication moving forward, right? So I've given you everything. We went from first principles to 4 fundamental pillars to business use cases to introductory techniques, persuasive techniques, creative techniques. But then you need templates, right? That's the issue here. You need templates to put this thing to work, right? You're not just going to become a public speaker overnight. You can either decide to work with me one-on-one, right? But preferably you join the BTC Hub, where you have all the templates, you have workbooks, you have access to me. So you're like killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Okay, if you're joining the BTC Hub. So I don't know if we have time to take questions, but I think that's about it. So DCC, thank you for having me. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Victor. That's okay. I've written down a lot of things in my book. I'm even speechless. I don't know what to say, but yeah, this has been a very insightful session. Not just for me, I believe for everybody that's watching here today. All right. So if you have any question, please drop your question in the comments so that Victor can answer them before he leaves. Right. So while we're waiting for your questions, Victor has a public speaking class that is coming up tomorrow in Lagos. And I believe even if you're not in Lagos, you can also participate and take the public speaking class, even if you're not in Lagos, right? The class is happening
Yes,
tomorrow. Yeah, I believe so. Tomorrow, right? The class is
yes, yes.
happening
So
tomorrow. Yeah.
so it's a live recording tomorrow, and after the
Okay.
live recording, everybody gets access to it. So it's like you're getting a self-paced online course.
Oh, okay. So even if they are not in Lagos, they can also buy it.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, great, great. So even if you're not in Lagos, that course is for you. So if you know you've learned a lot today, you should go and take that course. Mind you, know that public speaking is something you have to intentionally learn and build up. It's not something that you just do it in passing, right? And this is what this Victor's program is about. It's going to walk you through all of these things, and there's not going to be a workshop section in it. So if you know that you are available tomorrow, you should join. And even if you're not available tomorrow, also join the workshop so that you can access the recording. I heard after tomorrow the price is doubling. So the price is doubling after tomorrow. So you better get in. After tonight, 11:59 p.m., the price is doubling. So you get in now, and then tomorrow or anytime the recording is ready, you can watch it at your own pace and you get access to the workbook. Better still, you can go and join the BTC Hub. The link to the BTC Hub has been pinned to the link to the BTC Hub has been pinned to the comments, right? So you can go and get the BTC Hub. Join the BTC Hub is a monthly subscription by Yai and Victor, where they teach you different things, not just public speaking. The BTC Hub, there are a lot of things. There's public speaking, there's content marketing, there's launching, there's media training, a lot of things, and it's for different people. Whether you're a marketer, you're a one-man business, you are a small business owner, you sell products, whatever thing, or you're a tech brand, you own an agency, you own your own startup, or you're even thinking about starting your own startup, right? Then you should be in the BTC Hub. So there's a lot of things that you get when you join the BTC Hub. But if you say, nah, I don't want to be in the BTC Hub, I just want to, learn public speaking, you can take the public speaking course. Is The link is in the comments now. The public speaking course is about 25,550. BTC Hub it starts from 10K to, for marketers, I think BTC Hub is 15,000 or 16,000 every month, where you get access to all of these things. The public speaking course is 25,550. So the link to the public speaking course is already in the comments. Click on it and join. The link to explore BTC Hub has been pinned to YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, please see the link to BTC Hub. You can explore it for free. Even if it's okay, I'm not ready to sign up for BTC Hub, you can just explore it for free and see how the BTC Hub is. You have access to free resources inside the hub if you are a free member. Before you can now decide, okay, I want to be a paid member. You are free to test it out. So go and explore. Use the link to explore BTC Hub. That's the link to BTC Hub, and that's also the link to join the public speaking class by Victor that is happening tomorrow. So I think we'll have one question here for you, Victor. Uh, the person says, is Victor still here?
Yeah, I am. Proceed, please.
My question is, as a digital creator, I most times write in my caption. I most times write in my caption, how do I incorporate public speaking into words to get my followers engaged in my posts? Does this fall back on storytelling?
Make I mean, make videos. That's what public speaking is. There's no public speaking in writing. To make videos, that's how to incorporate public speaking into your content strategy to get people to engage more. I think that's the simple answer to your question.
Oh, okay, great, great, great. Thank you very much. I think that has answered your question, right? So to Miche, make videos. Videos writing will not really do justice, and I believe that writing can be misunderstood sometimes compared to when you speak. People understand you better when you write. So as you are writing, also do video. So you can do a mixture of it. You don't have to only speak on video. You don't have to only write on video. But I also believe that this technique can be applied to writing as well. At least if you know what your factor X is, you know what your public speaking style is, you can infuse it into your writing as well. And yeah, I also talked about storytelling on day 3. You should go back and watch that and see how you can use it. So you can mix everything. There's not just one way. You don't have to only use storytelling. You don't have to only use an example. You can even have a session where you mix it. Maybe you are having a public speaking session. And Victor had a mixture of all of these things. If you were paying attention to Victor's section, he used examples, he used stories, even the diving style. Victor used it. If you were paying attention to this section, all of the things that Victor is teaching you guys, or has taught you guys rather, in today's class, he has he has displayed everything here, except maybe we're not paying attention. Maybe we're just listening to what he was saying. Maybe we're not paying attention to what he was doing. That's what I was doing. I was listening to what he was saying. I was also paying attention to what he was doing. You should also be a good listener, not just a good public speaker. If you don't, if you, but yes, yes, yes. I think that answers that question. So if we don't have any more questions, I believe that will be the end of the session. Thank you so much, Victor, for coming, for doing this. We appreciate
Oh,
you.
welcome.
I learned a lot, even though I'm still a public speaking student that is still coming up, upcoming student. I'm
You're
still
welcome. And
upcoming,
thank you
guys.
for having me.
You will see my progress soon.
Thank you for having me, DCC.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank you
happy
so much.
birthday. Happy birthday for the 10th time
Yes.
in advance.
You've been wishing me
Guys,
happy birthday since June 1st.
happy this is his birthday tomorrow. I hope you guys wish her a very happy birthday. You've done exceedingly well with this Grow conference, and I'm honored that you considered Yai and I worthy to speak at this conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I am so honored, more than honored, that you consider me worthy to, be your host for this event. Thank you so much, Victor. Really appreciate you. All right. So before we move to the panel session, all right, guys, this is the final note to you guys. If you know that everybody needs public speaking, not what am I even saying? If you know that, not that if you know that, everybody needs to learn how to speak publicly. Because of what we are doing as creators, as freelancers, this is something that we need to learn. I am also a student of Victor. I'm also learning public speaking, and I would have been present in tomorrow's class, but tomorrow is my birthday. Please let me go and use my birthday to actually do my birthday. Thank you, guys. So yes, go and join the public speaking class. Or if it's okay, I don't have that amount of money to pay for the class. Better still, go and explore BTC Hub. The link has been pinned. The link has been pinned to the to the comments. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, wherever you're watching from, you know, you can see the link. Explore BTC Hub for free and see if it's a good fit for you, or join the public speaking class.